So 2012 hits and it's time for Model Behaviour. I took up the challenge of acting and directing again at the same time. It was debated about at first. There was at one point Nick Levy was going to do it, but he was too busy. So I thought, okay, well, we'll try again. I liked Jasper, but I thought I could do slightly better. So I put out an open casting call and was absolutely blown away by more than 2,000 acting submissions that came from all around the world. And I thought, okay, I've done something right. It must be Tomboys, because Tomboys was the one film that had been circulating in other countries, not just my hometown in Australia. And you know, some incredible auditions from people all around the world wanting to fly out and act in the film, and some of them wanted to pay for their own accommodation and airfares. It was an unbelievable support. So one thing I wanted to make clear with Model Behaviour was that it was going to be set in Melbourne and it was going to display Melbourne's current climate and sociological context, which at this time is very multicultural. So it was important to me to have different nationalities acting in the film, not just Australians in Australia, but we ended up with the main cast having all different colours: Asian, African, European, Islanders, you name it. We had it. It was a multicultural piece, which I really enjoyed doing. Stuart Marshall came on to co-produce. Then we had another co-producer from Pakistan, Amna Urshad, who had done quite a lot of television work overseas, but had suffered a little bit of racial prejudice here, but I could see that she'd done a huge body of work back home, so we gave her a chance as well. As far as the actors go, it was a chance for me to work with Clem Maloney from Surefire Films, who had done a movie called Personality Plus, and Clem and I had wanted to work together for a while, so he was an opportunity for us to act together. And also a big reward for me was to work with Stacey McMahon. I'd been a fan of Stacey's for quite some time. She's been a motorcycle champion, a model, a presenter, a host, even a bodybuilder. She's done so many things in her journey, in her work. So we had a chance to act together, and that was amazing. She's the sort of girl I would have had up on my, as a teenager, probably would have had her as a pin up on my wall. I'm sure there's many guys that do. So that was an awesome opportunity as well. So having graduated from film school and have acted in just about every medium possible, having won some awards at home and overseas, being an actor, writer, producer and director, one might ask, what is the next challenge for Nathan Hill? I would have to answer a commercial theatrical release. An international theatrical release. Otherwise, I think I'll probably throw in the towel. Having done enough independent movies now, I think another independent film is just going to become a number on a long list of credits. So, I'm really aiming for the big funded commercial feature now. And there's a couple of scripts in the works at the moment that I am still trying to figure out which is going to be the best one to do, but a lot of people are leaning towards horror. So if you look back in the career, it's almost like there's acting and being paid for acting to then make enough money to make a film, to go through film school and then make some feature films, and then when the money's been short, go back to acting, and then build up again slowly, whether it's through agency representation or whether it's through creating the networks and the contacts myself. I do like to think of myself as a bit of an entrepreneur, and I think that in this industry you have to be. I mean, you're constantly networking and trying to make as many connections as you can if you want to collaborate on more and more productions. That's what it's all about. And it's an industry where it can sometimes be very difficult, but when you're actually making the films, there's no better experience, and it's almost like a natural high or a natural drug. It's in the blood, and you've either got it or you don't. I don't think you can learn how to be so passionate and addicted to film. It really does have to be in your blood. And for myself, I've been interested in movies since I was born, and I've been constantly surrounded by them. People always told me it would take 10 years to become a well-known filmmaker. Right now, I've reached the 8th year. In filmmaking, I have two strands. One is acting and one is directing. Generally, when I'm acting, it's comic and dramatic roles. When I'm directing, it's usually horrors and thrillers. I strongly believe that acting does make you a better director. just as far as learning the craft and understanding what actors are going through, but also knowing what the cues are and knowing how to enhance a performance when it's actually going down live on set, and you need to understand the language of an actor as a director to communicate with them and perhaps get a better take out of the actor in any given scene. When I was in film school, I must have entered at least one film festival a week, to festivals all around the world. So that'd be about $50 a week. So if you times 50 by 52 weeks, you know, you do the maths. But it's usually, I find, about the ratio of festival submissions is usually 10 to 1. Although as we progress and the industry becomes more and more flooded, the figures now are probably more like 1 in 50 or sometimes 1 in 100. So the more people that want to make films, obviously the harder it gets. Sometimes when I'm not acting or directing, I like to do a lockdown and get right into my screenplay writing. Sometimes I have been known to disappear for 12 months at a time, and I'll have people say to me, you know, where are you? What are you doing? And I'll say, I'm screenwriting. Along the journey, I've seen many people quit this industry, retire, and some have even died. I've continually put my ass on the line and had faith in my own endeavours and my own self and my own career, and I think that without that passion, without that drive and commitment, you'll never make it. Some people have often said to me, Nath, you know, you shoot one independent film a year, why don't you stop and just write one masterpiece and maybe make one commercial film every 10 years? And my answer to that is, well, if you're a filmmaker, you're going to make films. And when you're continually working and testing yourself and pushing the boundaries, that's when you're actually learning. So I'd probably rather have a slate of films and a whole bunch of credits than one or two over a long period of time. It doesn't make sense to me. I think the industry sometimes is measured too much by money and not about the craft. And let's be honest, even well-known directors that have got several commercial films released, they've certainly got many independent films at home in their possession that may or may not have seen the shelves but have still been created. If I had have made Tomboys in the 80s, I'd be a very rich man. I can tell you, downloading is killing independent filmmakers. In the first week of Tomboy's release alone, we had 500,000 downloads just in this country. I do definitely get a big kick out of discovering new talent, and you'll find that on most of my films there's always one or two actors that have gone on to do quite big films. It's been said that if you want to do a commercial film in Australia, that you need to do an independent film with Nathan Hill first. Yes, you will find a lot of my movies on the black market and for $2 on a VCD in Indonesia. Yes, it is hard being a genre filmmaker when you live in Australia, and the government will tend to finance movies that predominantly have Indigenous content. I have in fact done 6 styles of martial arts in my time, firstly starting out with karate. Then in secondary school I did judo. Then I went on to do taekwondo and fought for the state in full contact. Then I dabbled a little bit in punch-it and mantra, and when I was in Indonesia for the first time I studied a style called silat. Following this, in later years I went on to study Muay Thai boxing. One of the things I've always done is write. I've been a writer for as long as I can remember, and English was always my favourite subject, so I've always been writing. So I came into film school very prepared, and I knew exactly what I wanted to shoot for the next several years. The first day of film school I remember the teacher saying, hands up those who have got scripts. So of course I was like this, and it was funny because a lot of the students had no stories, and she said, well, if you haven't got any scripts, you're probably not serious about being a filmmaker, so please leave. In actual fact, some people did get up and leave. So I had a huge grin on my face on that first day because I had a huge folder with, you know, a whole bunch of screenplays ready to go, and I was very excited about that.